Hello guys, Rollback1 here along with Charmander in the background as always, and in today's Yu-Gi-Oh video, we're going to be doing duels and deck profiles. So on my channel, we look at decks coming out later in the game, discuss them, talk about them, show you guys some duels, and give you guys some deck profiles to give you an idea and a feel for the deck and how it works. Now, in today's duels and deck profiles, we're playing something post Power of the Elements, something that I think is really fun, really cool, and has a lot of different play lines that can take a lot of different skill levels, and because of it, I'm having a lot of fun with it. And this isn't the current final build that I have, because yes, I would normally do it, but I've been having so much fun with this deck just testing it that I thought I'd show you what I'm currently working on with it, because it's just a lot of fun and I'm really enjoying it for that reason. So I wanted to show you guys the list. We're gonna be going through the list and we're gonna have a lot of fun with the list, and the deck we're actually going to be looking at is Tearalament branded, a really cool fun archetype that I've been messing with and honestly just having a lot of fun with as well. So pretty much this deck is really cool. It's obviously a fusion based deck that can do a lot of different fusion plays, can go off very easily, and has a lot of different boards that it can end on, such as like triple mirror Jade with a Masquerade with mirror Jade. Like if you have 3 Masquerades with a mirror Jade, like that's just a banish and also just 1800 every time you want to do anything. You can end on like, well, multiple disruptions. You can end on double mirror Jade with a Camaro setup, and also a Book of Moon that can let you fusion summon again, while also having your opponent hit 600 with a Masquerade on board. You can end on Kaliga. You can end on a lot of different things that I think is just really good and really cool, and I wanted to show it off in this video. So without further ado guys, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile, talk about it, see what we can do with it, and just see how good the actual deck is. So let's begin. So starting off, we are playing obviously the Tearalament cards. We're playing 3 Shaylen, we're playing 3 Hofenis, and we're playing 1 Meru, 1 Reinhardt, and also 3 of the field spell and 1 trap. Now, pretty much what all of these cards do is, Charmander is go ahead and send any monster from your graveyard to her hand, special summon her, and mill 3. And also, just like any of the others other than Heart, she gets to go ahead and when she sends to the graveyard by card effect, just fusion summon from the graveyard with herself and any other card on your hand, field, or graveyard. So very strong, and it's just really good to see the Tearlaments just really kind of mix with the branding, because it gives you that ability to just keep fusion summoning. So you play 3 of her because she literally just says send a monster to the graveyard, so you can trigger any of your Tearalament monster's effects, or you can go ahead and send Tragedy and go ahead and search your Despia Aluba. It's because Aluba just goes ahead and normal summons and searches your brand of fusion and continue on from there, which is really nice. So she's the send to graveyard. She's pretty much like what you were doing with Allure of Darkness originally, but better because she mills you some cards which could trigger Tearlaments and then can also just get you the Aluba anyway, which is really nice. You play 3 of the Hofenis because if your opponent activates a monster effect on their turn, you can go ahead and special summon it from the hand and then mill 3. The good thing about this is if you mirror Tearalament or a Tragedy or any of the other good cards, you can go ahead and trigger them and then fusion summon during your opponent's turn, potentially something like a Kaliga, or going ahead and just making a Masquerade so they're paying on their turn, or just go ahead and make your Tearalament fusions to go ahead and have some playability during your opponent's turn as well, which is really nice. And then we obviously play the 1 Meru because what she does is on normal or special summon, you can just go ahead and send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Now, the only reason we're playing 1 of her is because of that. She doesn't really have a special summon effect for herself, so she doesn't really do a lot, but we play 1 of her just for the fact that she's a name that can fusion summon, and she's also really nice because if we have her and the fusion, we can technically use her to mill 8 cards, which could trigger a whole bunch of effects, which is really good. And then we play the 1 Heart because what this one basically does is on normal summon, you get to go ahead and send, or special summon I should say, you get to go ahead and send any Tearalament monster from your deck to the graveyard, being able to trigger any of your Tearlaments and just go from there into combo plays. Now, we only play 1 of him because I always want my normal summon to normally go to Aluba so we can get the branded fusion and do the branded plays, but he's there pretty much just because we can go ahead and search him with the field spell and then normal him and then go ahead and go off with the Tearalament cards from there as well. So he's good, but I would rather normal summon Aluba over him, which is why I play 1, and he's also searchable, which is nice too. So 1 Reinhardt. We also play 3 of the field spell, which is an insane field spell. Not only does it give you 500 attack for all your Tearalament monsters and also all your fusion monsters, but it's really strong as well for the fact that, oh, on activation, add any Tearalament monster from your deck to your hand, and 2, if a Tearalament is returned to your deck, then you just get to go ahead and send or destroy any card your opponent controls, which is just insane. Like, having that ability to just go ahead and destroy any card your opponent controls on their turn or your own turn is really, really cool. And you can also kill your own cards as well, which can come up at times because you can go ahead and kill your field or your fusion monster. So then go ahead and mill 5, because that's what this card does as well. It gets to mill 5 when it's into graveyard by card effect. So really, really strong there. And then the final Tearalament card we actually play is one Tearalament Metanosis. The reason behind this is that you search it off the fusion monster, and then you have the ability to set your opponent's monsters for a disrupt. And also, when this card does that, you get to go ahead and send any Tearalament monster from your deck to the graveyard, effectively allowing you to fusion summon more stuff in your opponent's turn, trigger your field spell, and also have a lot more plays from there, which is really nice when you think about it. So card is really strong, card is very nice, and has a lot of utility, just being able to give you more fusion summons and also being a disrupt as well. So that's pretty much the entire Tearalament package. Like, you play all of these at this ratio, in my opinion, right now, just because they give you a lot of versatility and a lot of fusion summon capabilities. Then the best part is these are all dark, so you can send them off branded fusion to summon your Lubellion and then just have plays there as well, which is really good and really nice in this deck too. So absolutely insane, really, really nice. And this is the Tearalament ratio. For the branded ratio, though, we are playing pretty much standard stuff. We're playing the 3 Aluba, we're playing the 3 Tragedy, the 1 Ablipton, just go ahead and revive, 2 Albaz. Now, we're playing 2 Albaz because in this deck, you don't really need the third, because you're going to be shuffling back the Aluba more than anything. Now, if you do draw both of them or somehow mill both of them, that can be very bad, but you can always just put them back into the deck by utilizing literally any of the Tearlaments to make a Lubellion, or you could go ahead and put them back with, well, literally just standard fusion plays. So it's not the end of the world where if you do send them to the graveyard, you can't use them, but it isn't the best. So I do play 2 of them, but I do feel like 2 is fine in this deck because you don't really want to draw as many bricks, and Aluba is technically a brick, seeing as originally it wasn't too much of a brick because you could just go ahead and lure it away, but I don't want to draw it, so we only play at 2. And then we also play 1 Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. This is pretty much here because we're also playing the branded Lost, because what you do is this is basically an every turn monster, well, not monster reborn, sorry, it's an every turn draw. So literally, if you fusion summon, you Paradise, add it to hand, and then you get to go ahead and send it to your deck and draw a card. It's really nice, it can thin out your deck, and it also just gives you those additional draws, which I do kind of like, and it's just an every turn search, which goes with branded Lost. So card is really nice. Do you like it? We obviously play the 3 branded fusion because it's branded fusion. The card is insane. We play 3 branded opening because this card is even better in this deck now, just for the fact that if you open it with any of your Tearlaments, you're guaranteed to make a Masquerade on turn 1, which is just really strong, as a lot of people should understand. Like, branding opening plus your Tearlaments means that you're not only chain blocking your Aluba just so you can go ahead and guarantee your search for branded fusion, but you're also going ahead and guaranteeing a Masquerade on turn 1, so you have that ability to have the 600 burn guaranteed if your opponent even tries to do anything. So card is really insane in this deck and is even better than it was before, and I really do like it. We play the 2 branded and red. This is standard, obviously. You add a branded from grave to your hand, then you go ahead and fusion summon. We can make Camaro, we can make another Masquerade, we can do a lot of different stuff, which is kind of nice in the deck. We play 1 of the field spell. This is something that I'm kind of on and off about. I like it because of the fact that you can go ahead and have an every turn fusion, but it's kind of iffy in this deck. It is something that I do like and has been coming up here and there, but I don't know if I'll keep it in. But it is really nice as well, just for the fact that, yes, I can fusion, yes, it gives me more plays, and also if like Fairy leaves the field, I can summon a fusion from graveyard, so it does have those kind of capabilities as well. And we're obviously playing the 1 branded Lost because this card says your opponent cannot chain to my fusion summons, you cannot negate my branded fusion or fusion effects, and it's just a really decent card that allows me to search Albion to get those draws every turn. And then the last branded card we're actually playing in the main deck is branded Exile. This is something that I'm actually considering cutting as well. It doesn't come up too often, but I do really like it in this deck for a couple of reasons. 1, it can target any of your despia monsters or level 8 or higher fusions, summon them, and choose to super poly your opponent or not. I like the fact that you can potentially super poly your opponent, summoning any of your Masquerades, using your opponent's cards. Like, it has really good potential, and it banishes the monsters that are on their board as well, but in this deck, we are shuffling back a lot of our despia monsters and also our fusion monsters, so we can continuously use them with the Tearlaments, and that can be a little bad at times because of that means we're not going to have anything for the branded Exile, and also, obviously it's a trap card as well, so it's really slow. But I do like it for that idea. I do like it for the fact that it's a super poly, but I don't know if I'll continue maining it. It hasn't really come up too much, but I'm still playing it just as testing, and it is really good in theory where you can literally just go ahead and summon your Aluba from grave, trigger your Aluba, search a branded fusion, and then also super poly your opponent's stuff away. It's just kind of decent and really nice, and I do like the idea behind it. But I don't know, it's nice, but I don't know if I'll keep playing it. We'll see what happens, but right now, I do like it. It's just something I'm 50-50 on at the current moment. Next, we play 3 King of the Swamp with 2 Polymerization. Pretty much, King of the Swamp is insane in this deck for a couple of reasons. 1, it's an Aqua, so you can go ahead and use it with the Tearalament to summon your Tearalament fusion monsters. 2, it can replace the name of any fusion monster in the deck, so if we did somehow mill the double Aluba, we can just go ahead and use King of the Swamp to go ahead and be our Albaz. So it's literally there, it's great, it can become Albaz, and it's also really decent for the fact that we can make it hard to be able to summon our big Tearalament fusion monster as well. So it's got a lot of utility and can also search polymerization, giving us more fusion plays as well, which is really, really nice. And obviously the 2 polymerization, because it's a fusion deck, we want to fusion summon, it's just a good card. We also, for just the other like generic cards in the deck, we play 1 Fairy Tale Snow. It's there, we banish tons of cards, we set our opponent's cards, and we interrupt them. Great against stuff like Splight as well, where if they summon their level 2 monster, they don't have a follow-up, you summon the Snow, and you just set it, they can't play the game anymore, you just win from there. 1 Terraforming, it searches the field spells, either the branded stage, which is the theater, which is here, or you search the Tearalament field spell to go ahead and search any of your Tearalament monsters. We also play 1 Foolish Burial because this can trigger your Tragedy or any of your Tearalament monsters. So it's just a nice card that can go ahead and trigger your stuff. And then 3 Forbidden Droplet. Don't know if I'm going to continue playing this. I might swap it out for Dark Ruler no more. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it, and I've been seeing a lot of different lists actually playing Dark Ruler no more through my testing. But I do like droplets for a couple of reasons. 1, it's a quick play spell, so you can use it during your opponent's turn. 2, it's just a pretty decent card overall in the fact that if my opponent is playing a big Omni Negate board, we can go ahead and drop it and then just say no. And also, it's good for the standby phase as well, just in case your opponent's playing a Scythe deck, so you can go ahead and negate their Hulk. So the card is really good, the card is really nice, but I don't know if I want to continue playing it in this. I might swap it out for Dark Ruler more, I might take it out just to put it maybe down to 41 cards, who knows. I might take the droplets out, I might take the branded banishment out, and then just go ahead and play a 40 card list. I was trying that, and I did like it a lot, but I felt like the droplets were kind of necessary at times, so I put them back in. So it's just something we're testing, it's something we're liking and also kind of like on the fence about, but I don't know yet, guys. We'll see what happens along the way. But going on to the extra deck now, we are playing Tearalament Karos, which is actually a really, really good card, because if this card is special summoned, you can go ahead and take 1 Tearalament card from your deck to your hand, add it to your hand, or send it to the graveyard. So pretty much on summon, you get to go ahead and search your trap card, which is a Book of Moon, or you can go ahead and send a Tearalament monster to go ahead and trigger their effect to go even further with your Tearalament effects to go ahead and fusion summon more cards. So the card is really insane, and it's also really nice because you can go ahead and use its other effect, which allows you to target 1 monster on the field and 1 Tearalament in your graveyard, send that monster to the graveyard, and then special summon it Tearalament. So what's really good with this is, as I said earlier on in the video, you can go ahead and target itself, summon the Meru, and then you get to go ahead and mill 8 cards from your deck, effectively triggering a ton of different cards or just milling stuff that's irrelevant. But the good thing about that is that you could potentially trigger a lot of cards, you could potentially get a lot of effects, and that is really, really nice in this deck. And it's nice to fill up your graveyard as well with Fairy Tale Snow too, so it does have that added bonus of being able to get your Fairy Tale Snow triggers, so you can go ahead and set your opponent's cards on the board, which is really nice. And then we also play 1 Tearalament Kaleidos Heart. What this card is actually a really, really strong card. Now, first of all, you cannot use this as fusion material, just to make that clear, because there was times where I accidentally got screwed because of it, because I didn't realize you couldn't use it as fusion material, but it is what it is. But what this card does is, if this card is special summoned or an Aqua monster is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can go ahead and target 1 card on your opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck. So it's just free removal whenever you send your Tearalament card to the graveyard, or when you summon it, which is just great because you can go ahead and summon it back with your Ablipton. If it leaves the board, you could go ahead and use its effect whenever you go ahead and use the fusion effects of the Tearalament when you send this graveyard by card effect. Obviously the card is really, really nice because of that, and it also has the additional effect of, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can go ahead and send one Tearalament card to the graveyard, and then go ahead and special summon it back. So if your opponent kills this via any card effect, you just get to go ahead and trigger Tearalament effects and also get to summon it back. So card is really nice. It's a reoccurring boss monster, and it is great, but I do have my issues with it here and there as well, because one, it does take 2 Aqua Monsters and the Reinhardt to make, so you do need to have King of the Swamp at times just to make it, or you need to have the Reinhardt itself, but it's just a really strong card that can be a good removal for your opponent's turn, which I really do like. So we do play one of it for that point, and then obviously going on to the rest of the extract, we play the free Masquerade. We can make free Masquerade really easily if we want to. I tend to go for a more disruption board most of the time, but if you really want to, you can. One Despia Quantis, this is pretty much just to help you OTK. It does come up, it is really nice, and it is there for that point. Is it amazing? It's not the best, but I like to be able to have the OTK option, and it does come up at times. 2, Lubellion. I'm honest, guys, I wanted to play this at 1, but the amount of times I just got hit and I lost the ability to use this was terrible, so I chose to keep it at 2. It is probably a 2 of, and I would definitely consider playing a 2 of this, because if it gets stopped, it does really suck. 2 Albion, because you're going to send it off your Mirror Jade to go ahead and trigger the effect of the end phase to set your brand in red, and then go from there. 1 Mirror Jade. Now, I would normally want to play 2 in this deck, but I realized very early on that the extra deck space in this deck is so tight. You don't have a lot of space, you don't have a lot of room, and it's really hard to get the correct ratios for this deck. Like, I've been trying to figure out the correct ratios, and currently this is what I'm on. But I'm going to be honest, guys, it is so hard figuring out the right ratio for this deck. And right now, 1 Mirror Jade is kind of as much as I can fit in. But the card is absolutely insane. You can put it back into your X deck as well via any of the Tearlaments. So if it does go to graveyard, you can go ahead and put it back, summon a Lubellion, or summon anything else. Sorry, you can't summon Lubellion, you need Albaz for that. And then just go from there, or put it back and then make the Dragos Stupelio. Like, there are ways you can, but it's an insane card. You summon it back multiple times anyway, and 1 is enough right now. But if you can figure out how to put in 2, I would love to hear that in the comments. 1 Kaliga, because this card is insane. Like, if we go turn 1, go ahead and send King of the Swamp and any Tearalament to the graveyard, we can just go ahead and stop our opponent's turn 9 times out of 10. So I really do like that, and I have been doing it, and it is insane. We can also make it turn 1 too. Just go ahead and stop our opponent from playing the game. So that's really nice. 1 Dragos Stupelio. This is a mandatory. This helps you shuffle back so many of your extra cards. This card, I would actually consider playing at 2 if I could make more room. But, like, the card is insane. It's just a free negate, pretty much, which is really nice. It helps you recycle any of your fusion monsters back to the extra deck, and it's just really strong, which I really like as well. So this is a mandatory card in the deck. I kind of want to play 2. Can I fit 2 right now? No, but it's really strong. And then finally, 1 Guardian Camaro. This is something I was playing at 2 at first. Space, as I said, is a problem, but I feel like this has to be in the deck at least at 1, because yes, you can recycle it with any of the Tearlaments, so you can got that access. And 2, this card is just absolutely insane with Branded in red. Literally, just being able to summon this, destroy multiple cards of your opponents, and also draw cards is really good. And because of that, it's a mandatory card in the deck. I could not honestly bring myself to take it out. Like, I did try without it, and I was just like, no. I need this card in the deck. It makes Branded in red insane, and it really is just a super strong card in the deck and really necessary. You do have lots of ways to recycle it too. So it's not the end of the world if it does end up in your graveyard and then you need it later because you can't put it back. But the card is a mandatory. It allows you to pop cards. It is a disruption, and it also allows you to refill your hand. So card is insane, card is great, and is mandatory in the deck. So yeah, that is the stuff we're currently playing in the deck. This is the list that I have. It's honestly a lot of fun, guys, and really strong. Like, I do have some issues, as I said, that I'm kind of working on. Do I want to play the Branded Banishment? Do I want to play the Droplets? Do I want to play some of these specific cards? I don't know. But this is the list that I've currently got. It's a lot of fun, and we're going to go into some duels now, guys. So let's go ahead and show you some duels. Alright, guys, so the first game that we have here is against Splite, the other deck coming out in Power of the Elements that is going to just completely change the format. So let's go ahead and see what our deck that is technically just as good as it coming out in Power of the Elements can do against it. So let's begin the replay. So starting off, we are going first, I believe. So we go ahead and use our field spell, searching our Charlian, then we normal summon Aluba, use Aluba, search Branded Lost. We go ahead and activate Branded Lost, go ahead and activate Branded Fusion. We go ahead and summon Lubellion, go ahead and trigger Tragedy, and also discard a card and use Branded Lost. We go ahead and add the Albion, we go ahead and fusion summon, summoning out our Mirror Jade, and then we go ahead and add from our deck to our hand Lipton. We go ahead and send to the graveyard our Branded Opening, just so we can go ahead and have that protection to go ahead and draw a card with our Albion. And then we go ahead and use Charlene's effect, special summoning it, sending a card from our hand to the graveyard and milling free. We trigger a Charlene that we send to graveyard, and we go ahead and summon our fusion monster, which will allow us to add our trap card to our hand, and then we go ahead and use our fusion monster effect, sending it to the graveyard to special summon a Tearalament from hand, mill 5 cards, and then go ahead and use Mirror Jade, which will allow us to go ahead and then banish our Aluba, and then trigger Albion to set Branded in red, having that nice disruption for the opponent's turn. Opponent's turn, goes ahead and summons Live Twin Kill, one of the options that you can potentially play with Sply, just so you can go ahead and have those level 2 access. So, we go ahead and shotgun the trap, setting the Lilla, sending a Tearalament to graveyard, and then fusion summon, summoning out a Tearalament fusion monster, and then we go ahead and trigger all of our cards pretty much. We trigger Lost to go ahead and search or something, we go ahead and trigger Kikalos, to which will allow it to go ahead and send to the graveyard or add, and we go ahead and trigger our field spell, which will allow us to send the Lilla to the Kill to the graveyard. We go ahead and send the Charlian to the graveyard, go ahead and add the Albion, and then trigger the Charlian, allowing us to fusion summon into a Mirror Jade, so they get to burn. He activates Dark Ruler No More, just a really strong card and something I said in the deck profile a lot of people are actually starting to play, and then he activates Splight Starter. He goes ahead and summons Blue, which will allow him to go ahead and search Jet, and then we go ahead and chain Branded in red, adding the Tragedy to hand, fusion summoning our Camaro, and then going ahead and using Camaro, Tragedy, and also Lipton effect to go ahead and summon back our Mirror Jade, and just have a lot of searching, and also have that disruption. So we go ahead and use Camaro to go ahead and pop, and we draw 2, and our opponent scoops. So, even though our opponent had the Dark Ruler No More, we had the ability to do everything. He had the Dark Ruler No More, he had the starter, he had the Kill, he had everything that he needed to actually go off, but we just had a lot of disruptions that prevented him from playing the game. So honestly guys, this deck is strong. You can see that this deck was able to disrupt Splight very easily, and in all honesty guys, this is just one game that shows this, and this, like, in the amount of games that I've actually had where people have just scooped outright, we've done a lot. So yeah, that was the first game. Let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Okay guys, so the next game that we have for you is against Bist, the new deck coming out in Darkwing Blast that is essentially all their monsters are hand traps, so you can special summon them from the hand by banishing light and dark monsters from your opponent's graveyard. All our Tearlaments are dark monsters, so yeah, they banish them. We can't fusion with them because of when they trigger, they need to fuse with themselves. So we'll see what our deck can do against it and see how we can play against the Abyss deck. Let's begin the replay. So, let's see what happens. I believe we're going first. So we're going to start off with Terraforming. Terraforming adds the field spell to the deck to the hand, and we go ahead and use the field spell, adding Reinhardt. Go ahead and use Branded Opening, sending a Charlene to graveyard, summoning an Aluba. Then we use the Aluba effect and the Charlene effect, but we get hit by a Bist monster, the Saronir, which will go ahead and special summon itself and banish our Charlene, preventing us from his fusion summoning. We do in fact still get our search though. We get Branded Fusion. We go ahead and normal summon Reinhardt, sending a Hyphotis to the graveyard to go ahead and summon a Kikalos, which will allow us to either add or send to the graveyard, and also trigger the field spell, which will allow us to go ahead and destroy his Saronir as well. So that's pretty good. We go ahead and add the trap to our hand, and then he uses his Kitalos effect, which will allow him to go ahead and send Lubellion to the graveyard. So the Abyss monster's just doing good stuff, because he gets to go ahead and send any Abyss monster from his deck to the graveyard, so he can send this to the graveyard, which literally says you can set any branded continuous spell or trap to the board. So card is great. Honestly, it's something that I'll probably consider playing this post Darkwing Blast, but not yet. Let's continue though and see what else our opponent is going to do, because we are activating Branded Fusion. So we go ahead and send the Tragedy and the Albus to the graveyard, and we summon Lubellion using its effect, and we add Ablipton, and now we're going to go ahead and make Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade effect, we go ahead and banish our Luba, activate the field spell, and then we go ahead and summon our Masquerade. We go ahead and trigger Ablipton, which we use to fusion summon to make the Masquerade, and then we go ahead and pass turn. So pretty much this board is insane. We've got the set from our trap card, we've got a brand in red that we set off the Albion, we've got the Masquerade that's going to burn, and we've also got access into fusion summon during our opponent's turn via the brand in red, and also this to send a Tearalament to the graveyard. So Lots of disruptions, and we still have the Mirror Jade banish as well. Really nice and really strong. Let's continue and see what our opponent is able to do against this. So, opponent draws for turn. He pays 600, he activates Rebound. He normal summons Fallen of Albez. We go ahead and trigger Mirror Jade to go ahead and banish the Albez, and then he triggers his trap card, which allows him to put the Albez back and draw a card, but he didn't draw anything good from what it seems, and we just slapped him. So, honestly, I've done a lot of testing against this deck, and there are a lot of things this deck can do, but honestly, just not all the time. Like, especially when it opened a hand like this, where we were able to prevent our opponent from doing a lot of different stuff. Like, what else was in his hand? He had Tragedy, he had Bist Magnamut, and he also had Brandon Red, so potentially he might have been able to do some more stuff. Like, he could have summoned this, and maybe made a link play and used the Brandon Red, but I don't think the deck actually plays any links, so he just didn't get lucky with what he needed. Maybe if he drew like a Luber or something to get to the Brandon Red, it might have been different. Sorry, the Brandon Fusion. But because he didn't, it was a different game, and we just had so much disruption anyway, I don't think he would have been able to do anything, because honestly, with this board, we can go ahead and still make our Camaro, we can summon back the Mirror Jade, we can go ahead and set any monster and then go into Tearalament fusions. Like, guys, honestly, I don't think he could have done anything, so it's just really strong, this deck, and showing you a board like this that still has so much disruption, I don't know what he could have done to actually out regardless. So yeah, that's just the next replay. Let's go on to the final replay so we can show you what else this deck can actually do. So for the last replay we have here, it is against Mr. Rude, a deck that literally says, I'm going to banish / mill out your entire deck and you're not going to play the game. So honestly, I don't know how well this is going to go for us, seeing as we literally mill / send our stuff to the graveyard a lot. So I don't know how this game will go, but let's see how good it is. Let's see if we can actually win, and let's go ahead and start the replay, because if I remember correctly, this was actually a really good game. So let's go ahead and play it out. So our opponent starts off with droplets. We'll summon the fairy from the hand. Fairy will discard a card, and a Shizu card, the Kepler, which will make both of us mill 5 cards as well, so already a lot of milling. And he goes ahead and adds the field spell from his deck to his hand, uses a Kepler, we both mill 5, and obviously, because he's milled us, we get to trigger our effects. So we go ahead and trigger our Tragedy and our Tearalament monster to go ahead and add a Luber. And then Fusion Summon, summoning out our Kaliga, just because we don't want to risk any more Shizu cards dropping, because if he sends 15 cards from our deck to the graveyard, we're not going to have a lot of resources. So I believe that's why I make the Kaliga, but let's continue on and see what else our opponent can do. He activates the field spell, activates another spell which banishes 3 cards and also prevents attack, I believe, and then shuffles away 3 with the field spell to draw 3 cards. He sets 1 and passes. We start with Branded Opening, and he activates Soul Levy, a card that says whenever we special summon, we mill 3 cards. So not good for us, but let's go ahead and continue on. We go ahead and send Charlian, summon Tragedy, mill 3, trigger Charlian, Fusion Summon Dragostupelia, probably so we can guarantee that we get lots of effects, because with the Kaliga there, we can't really trigger a lot of our effects, so that's probably correct right there. We mill more cards, we go ahead and use Tragedy, setting our Branded Lost. We use Branded Lost, activate the field spell. He goes ahead and activates the MST in the deck, which banishes the top 4 cards from our deck. He uses the field spell again, shuffles away 3 to draw 3. Uses Golden Droplet, so we draw 1 and then he banishes the top 4. He uses Dispel, which whenever we add a card from our deck to our hand, we go ahead and banish cards and also discard a card from our hand, and then he activates the Negate as well, the Widow Anchor of the deck, which will go ahead and negate our Despia Jester. So lots of disruption so far, and we have already lost 17 cards, and we're down to 11. So let's see how this continues out. We use Polymerization, summon Camaro, use Camaro's effect to attempt to pop some stuff. And we're also using all of our effects as well, such as our Lipton and also our Tearalament. We mill small cards, we fusion, summoning out a Masquerade. We then go ahead and go into battle phase. He uses Flare to go ahead and summon his Wolf, Dragostupelia to negate the Wolf's effects. We attack, deal 600 damage, he uses his effect to pay 600 to banish the top 2 cards. We go ahead and special summon our Hofenis, which is basically just more damage at this point because we have no cards in our deck left. And let's see if we can actually play through this to kill him. We go ahead and attack with Jester, we go ahead and attack with Hofenis, Masquerade, and Camaro for game. So he did successfully mill us out, but because he wasn't able to make more monsters, which would have probably been really good, because what did he have left in hand? He already used the droplets, he couldn't use any set cards with his king, and he couldn't use the skill drain because he obviously drew off the field spell. We were able to win just barely, because if he drew any other monster or any other thing to put in defense mode, we couldn't have done anything, because literally we would have lost that game. And it was like, I remember playing this game and it was just a lot of fun. But guys, that is the entire video. I hope you did enjoy, because honestly this was a really fun deck to test out. These were some really fun games to play and just figure out the right lines of play, and I hope you did enjoy the deck in general and learn something about it. So guys, will you be playing Tearalament during Power of the Elements format? I don't know if you will. You might be, you might not be. We'll find out. But honestly guys, this is one of the more enjoyable decks from the format other than Splight. And if you don't want to play Splight and you're like, oh, I don't want to be a Splight train, then play Tearalament, because it's just as good. And it's also just really insane when you get the list down. So guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. I'll see you guys in the next one. And that's all I have to say. Robot1 signing out. Later all.